Okay, welcome to Social Media Fridays. Each week we meet to wind down and talk about what has happened in the world of social media this week. With us today we have Masataki Wasa. Masataki is webmaster of wasaweb.net in the UK. He's also a Google top contributor in the AdSense and Google Plus help communities. Meher Bhagat is from India. I've forgotten the city. Meher, I'm sorry. I'll make sure I don't forget next week.
Delhi.
Which is it? Oh, Delhi.
Yeah.
Okay. And Meher is a human resources dynamo and an entrepreneur. Tony McCreath is Adelaide's leading SEO here in Australia. He's
currently Sheffield.
Currently in Sheffield, England, and he runs a website in Australia that not many people visit at this point. It's called websiteadvantage.com.au. Okay, so each week we post topics of interest on the Social Media Fridays community, and each Friday we talk about them. The first one was posted by Tony, and it's titled 15 Digital Facts that Every Marketer Should Know. It was from an article on dmnews.com. You want to tell us about it, Tony?
Yeah, it's another one of these statistics things which I think you've always got to read with a pinch of salt. It's more, should we believe any of this sort of stuff? Like this one says 47% of Americans say Facebook is the #1 influencer of their purchases, while I've read other stuff that says people don't buy via Facebook. So I don't know, should we pay attention to this sort of stuff?
Well, in the absence of anything else, what do we have to measure? Although in another article that we'll be discussing today, one mistake that we can make is to rely on statistics to the point that we forget or we ignore the obvious, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, if you look at it, it can give you clues, but I think we've just got to be very careful that how much this data can swing is massive. I don't think there was anything specific that was stand out on this one.
Okay, so if you're following along at home and you'd like to look at that article, you'll find it on the Social Media Fridays community on Google Plus. Anybody else before we move on? All right, and I've just realised I forgot to click the button. Damn it. Okay. All right. The next one was another one posted by Tony called "A Letter to Break Your Heart," and it's regarding the ACCC, which is a corporate body here a corporate monitoring body or management body here in Australia, looking at behaviour from banks and financial institutions, and trying to identify people who might be being conned by, say, a scam to send money to an overseas address. Anybody?
I think it's an interesting subject it's like they're doing a nice thing, but it seems a little bit kind of borderline of spying on you to find out you're an idiot. It just seems a bit touchy.
Yeah, well, I mean, I already know I'm an idiot. I really don't need someone to point that out.
Right
Um,
to you about it.
but yeah, look, it does smack of the nanny state, doesn't it? But we are seeing more and more of that too, though. We are more and more regulated. Um, I feel sorry for my sons because they grew up at a time with far more restrictions than I did when I was growing up. I can remember riding a bike to a creek 9 miles out of town. I used to regularly do it with a fishing rod, and I had an open account at the grocers. My mother used to pay my bill, and I used to ride to the grocers first and get provisions like biscuits and canned fruit and so on, and sausages from the butcher next door. Then off to the creek to light a fire and cook it. Of course, I suppose that shows that I had no friends. Nothing has changed. But I mean, it was a complete freedom. And someone that was 8 or 9 years old wandering around, that doesn't happen these days. That can't happen because society won't allow it. I think we're digressing a bit, though, aren't we? We're really talking about whether the ACCC is right to monitor our bank transactions.
Yeah, because they're not forcing anything; they're just highlighting, which makes me think like, say you're on Gmail or some of these email providers, they also provide warnings if they see certain patterns. So there's a bit of kind of protection going on there as well, and just throwing stuff in a spam bucket so you don't even see it in the first place.
Well, I suppose that's what we do when we filter spam um, and filter phishing emails and so on, or at least we do it as much as we can.
And so it's good to protect, and I think they had the difference is they probably don't have your email address to tell you, so they have to do a physical letter. So yeah, what's the difference between them doing it in Google and Gmail, filtering out what we see? Just yesterday was someone hacked into one of my mum's friends' accounts and started doing the Western Union type money attack, and they wouldn't have been any wiser. It was I was there and I just went, that looks suspicious. But it would have been nice if, say, the email came up saying, watch out, this is dodgy.
It didn't? Oh, interesting.
No, I actually forwarded it to my Gmail and it rejected it, but their system didn't.
Yeah, no, in my case, I mentioned that I'd received something similar, and those went to spam folder, but they did get through.
So, actually, that maybe I should set something up with my parents. They're on a bog standard British Telecom email account.
Isn't it on Yahoo now?
Yeah, it sounds a bit confusing. Who owns it now?
No. I thought, it depends, doesn't it? Because I thought the BT address is sort of managed, not managed, but it looks a bit like Yahoo. It's a bit like Google Apps, but in Yahoo.
Yeah, I think if they do online email, it actually is yahoo.com or something.
Yeah. I have one somewhere because I'm with BT, so there's an account somewhere attached to my BT account.
So which there's a lot of people out there who don't know how to recognise what's dodgy, and so I think any, I guess, passive policing is okay. Accessing your bank account is probably really pushing it.
No, and then even at the last stage of the banking stage, you might be, perhaps banks should have pop-up warnings saying, are you sure you want to send this amount of money? God knows where.
Yeah, like anything that mentions Western Union. I actually had a bet with my dad. I said, when I did my fishing back, I said, if it says Western Union on it, I'm right. And because that's that's just the system that they all use. So any mention of Western Union should be a flag. Western Union won't like that, though.
Even I had spam from most of the bankings that I do. I mean, I have an account with PNB and ICICI and one other bank. What was happening in my spam box, I mean, like in my inbox and spam box, that I was getting all my, false mail delivered to my inbox, and my all genuine mails that were actually coming from the bank was getting into spam. It was hilarious.
Oh,
I had to train my Google how to get, what I did, all the mails that were into spam, I had to move that into my inbox, and then the inbox mail into spam. That's how I trained my Gmail to actually understand this is original, this is fake. And yes, people I won't talk about other countries, but people who are newbies in India, they generally fall as a prey into this very trend of spamming. Not just banking, they also fall for Facebook. I mean, damn you do Facebook every day. You can't even understand how Facebook looks and appears in your inbox. So yeah, I mean, what happens is like the likes, how Facebook actually gives you invites for likes pages and those things. Even that are coming as a spam. I mean, like people are posting it, proper messages, and showing it off as a Facebook. That Facebook is sending you this message, but Facebook hasn't. It's a spam. They're just trying to get likes and various other things.
yeah.
About the posting, yeah, I mean, in-person posting. I remember 4 years ago, I received one of a letter, and that says that was work from home letters, and typical it was spam. It was a spam. I don't know how many people fell for that. I have no idea. But it wasn't asking for a lot of money, just for $2, to work from home and start getting into it. But it was a typical spam, and I have no idea. I have no verdict, how many people actually went for that. But I was labeled as somewhere in lakhs that, this mail has been sent to. That shows the serial number that showed this many people have been sent.
If they send out, they only need one or two to make the money.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine, but I am one of those lads who knew this was a spam, but most of the people don't know. Work from home, work from home, work from home. They're actually typically looking for this, right? But it was a spam. And even now in India, there's this other scams which keeps going on from Reader Digest. This is one of the small magazine, a kind of educational magazine, but they have no connection with this particular mail that goes on to your Yahoo, Gmail. This was the two prey that they had, and the other was in person, the postal mail, and they were using it. Not this company, but someone else was using it on their name, and they were making money out of it. I received numerous on Gmail and Yahoo. I received 8 in-person postals from them. I knew it was a spam, but they didn't know. Like, it was total scam. I have no idea how many people actually went pray for it, but it was one of the biggest scams.
I actually got a Reader's Digest letter the other day, a real world one, and it seems that I've already won $1 million.
Have you
It's
claimed
their
it?
classic tactic. Or I could have already won.
That was a winning mail something, yeah. But that wasn't real.
No, Reader's Digest. Well, they
Reader
tried.
Digest cannot afford it. It's a dying company. It's a dying brand. In India,
Yeah,
it's a
I've
dying
had it
brand.
with for years.
Well, scammers, and I don't want to abuse them typically right now. Yeah. Then I love posting. I cannot deny that.
My dad was telling me that in the old days before the internet, uh, the Nigerian bank scam, they used to do that by mail. So that's been going around for years and years and years. That you would get a letter and in old school real world snail mail, and it was the same scam going on years before they started doing it via email.
Yeah, I mean, scams have been around for a very long time. It's just the medium has changed.
Yeah.
And they must be succeeding, because, and they don't have to have a particularly high success rate. 0.0 something percent probably would do nicely by sending out massive amount of emails. Even if the success rate is very low, in absolute terms, the scammer is probably making a decent amount of money. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it. It's not as
The
if
one
people
related
don't.
to this article, I've heard people, once they get suckered in, they tend to, partly through embarrassment, just keep paying and keep paying. So you get one reeled in, and that's all you need.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's true or not, but there have been reports of lists. If you fall for one scam, then you're seen as an easy mark, as it were, for
Yeah.
all scammers, and not just email scam, but for example, telephone scam was email scam. So once you get duped, as it were, then you're on this list, and you traded your name, your details traded as, if you like a commodity, as an easy mark. So once you fall for something, then you get bombarded by various different scams. It certainly makes sense. I'm not so sure if such lists exist and whether they're traded on social media. Makes sense to me.
Hopefully, I haven't put my mum on that list now.
Yeah, if you send money in Western Union to Rome, was it?
We still have banking scams online all the time. I mean, like on our emails. Most of the people don't know, I mean, how to actually understand scams and how they actually fall prey. It's sad. It's really sad. I mean, this is really sad for newbies who just get online to be on Facebook and all. They make a Gmail account, they connect their banking into it, and they actually fall prey. They send their details out. When officially bank is saying we never asked you for details, they still fall prey for it. It's funny. It's sad at the same time. One of the most popular scams in India for banking is ICICI Bank. The other is Axis, and then there is this bank. I don't really remember the name. It's a bit along with me. I don't have any connection with them. I don't have any accounts with them. There's this third bank that really falls prey. They have big scams going on all the time. Sorry, people, you've been robbed.
Okay, Okay, I think we've pretty well covered this, and I'll take that as not receiving an objection. Next is one that I should have looked at, and I've been meaning to, because it's from a very good friend of ours, of Masataki's and Tony McCree's and mine, Alistair Lattimore. He's head of search, a senior SEO manager for the What If group, and they've just launched a new advertising campaign. And I've got it bookmarked everywhere, but I haven't actually had a look at it. Have you guys looked at this campaign?
I had a look. I think Alistair's comment is about right. It's odd, quirky, so people might remember it. My only concern is you've got to remember, you've got to work out what it's about and what the website is that you've got to go to in the end, because it's actually wotif.com.au, but they're branding it as Wotifia. So I think some people might get confused.
Have they registered Wotifia?
That's a good point. I was just about to search it. Yeah, they come up number one, so I guess it's a pretty weird keyword, isn't it?
Well, I actually just keyed in wotifia.com, and it's redirected to wotif.com.
Oh, so they have the domain as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
that solves that. So they'll be okay.
I bet you Alistair Lattimore had something to do with that. Okay. Did anybody else see this campaign? All right. Well, look, I really regret not having a look at that to have something to contribute. All right. Next is an article posted. By the way, if you're wanting to look at the Wotifia campaign, you will find it on the Social Media Fridays community on Google+. Another one posted by Tony McCree's, words that sell on social media. This was it's an article from searchenginepeople.com. Tony posted it, so looks like it's back to you, mate.
Just quickly going through it. It's I've seen a few articles of a similar vein of these certain types of words relate to people wanting to buy. It's about that sort of thing. What sort of words to use to match up with people who are looking to buy things. I'm trying to find. Yeah, she uses trigger words. Oh, and how these words can be different depending on whether you're on Facebook or Twitter, LinkedIn. There's no need to go in the details, but there are certain words that just do well on each network.
Oh, I had my microphone muted. I'm sorry about that. Anybody else on this one? Okay. And next, Facebook has killed the like gate. I didn't even know there was a like gate. And pages have 90 days to comply. Let me guess, who posted this? Oh, look, it was Tony McCree.
This one is they've changed the rules, so you cannot encourage people to like if what's the thing? Where you used to be able to say like us to get enter a competition type stuff. Facebook is stopping that.
It's all a bit pointless, isn't it? These likes and I mean, a couple of my clients were very keen on it. They sort of felt that unless their business page had a lot of likes, they wouldn't be valued. And I suppose there is that. But I mean, it's not like you can spend Facebook likes, is it?
The one argument is that people do look at these numbers, and if you've got numbers like 2 or 3, that's a signal. I don't think the right approach is to just get the number of likes up. You want to earn the likes rather than buy the likes.
Yeah, but then I think it's a little bit too late, isn't it? In the sense that likes are really not. I wouldn't quite say meaningless, but it's somewhere close to that, or it's too compromised because they've been sold, traded, forced upon. You have to like something in order to gain access to something or enter some competition or something like that. Then you're essentially trading like for something else, which isn't what likes were meant to be, in a sense. That likes should be what people actually like, rather than being traded for something else. And there's an accumulation, huge accumulation of likes that don't represent actual likes, or the people actually liking that thing.
Yeah, so this is a good thing that Facebook's killing off that practice.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. I think it's a great thing that Facebook's doing. But I think my argument is that it may be too late, in that there have been so many likes that have been gained in a way that really doesn't represent what like button or like should represent until now. So that they may be changing things now, but there's so many likes up to this point that figures are, in a sense, compromised as any sort of any meaning. Sorry, the figures of likes are compromised because so many of them have been bought or forced upon, and there's so many of them up to this point, that even changing the rules now, that will not solve the problem, if you like, the historical accumulation of pseudo likes.
Even after they've started encouraging people to unlike things that they no longer like, that's still, yeah, after the horse is bolted, only a few people are going to do that.
Yeah, so I think Facebook is going to the right direction with this. But there'll be so much to clean up that I would guess that it's more or less impossible to clean it up to the degree that it becomes a credible measurement.
Maybe in a couple of generations.
possibly.
Okay, so have we covered this one?
Yep.
I must learn how to Facebook. Anyway, we
Just
have.
like
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Tony.
all you have to do is like my page, and you've got a chance to win nothing.
All right. Another article posted on our Social Media Fridays community was posted by Tony McCreath. Now, if that doesn't beat off. It's titled Social Media versus SEO, and it was an article published in Australia's brw.com.au, which is the Business Review weekly. Or actually, where was it posted? In the Sydney Morning Herald, was it, Tony?
I think so. I'm just bring it up.
That's right. brw.com.au was part of the article because it was a link to the BRW Young Rich List, and the author of the article, Mitchell Harper, is co-founder of a company called Big Commerce, which is based in Sydney. And
Austin.
I beg your pardon?
They've Americanized. I think their head office is now Austin, Texas.
Oh, okay. Well, Tony McCreath, you can tell us a lot about Big Commerce because you help out on their forum a lot. I think you wrote that on one of the comments.
Yeah, because they were an Australian-based startup e-commerce platform, and from what I gather, they tried to make money, raise money to expand in Australia and didn't get it. And America backed them, and hence they've moved to America to continue getting larger. And they seem to be doing very well. I think they might even be classed as the #1 e-commerce platform at the moment, or at least up there. And just to give them a plug, I like it. And every once in a while, the top guys do articles like this.
Well, let's get back to the actual post. The article was about social signals versus SEO, really, wasn't it? What comments do you have on that?
Do you remember your reasoning? You mentioned something on the post. Yeah.
Yeah, well, look, I made the comment. I think he was really, I think, disparaging or pointing out the low numbers of engagement that have been measured. But I think what he misses is that so many social actions take place that aren't measured, can't be measured, because the user is not taking a physical action. They're viewing the page, they're observing the behaviour, the nature of the post, the ethics of the person writing it. They're making assumptions on the post and forming opinions that will stay with them perhaps for a long time. And none of that can be measured. The other thing is that mavens can be enlisted, people who will advocate for the product when somebody else is making a buying decision, or at a time when the brand may be under attack, and that can't be measured. The enlistment of those brand advocates is, it just doesn't show up in any statistics. So I think it's wrong to make suppositions based on what you actually can be measured, and I think that's what we were talking about earlier on today. You really got to have a feel for your market out there based on the limited responses you do get, because the actual full weight of your efforts in social media won't show up on a graph.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's a lifetime value.
You know how you were saying, the big commerce is huge. I thought it was interesting that on their website they proudly say that they've got 60. Look, don't shoot me if I've got these figures wrong. These are off the top of my head from reading it the other day. But I think he said at the time $3 billion worth of revenue over, I suppose it's over an 8 or 10 year period, and X number of sites, and I did a calculation. It looks like it's about $60,000 of gross revenue over that time, and of course a lot of sites would be turning over a whole lot more than that. But it seems to me that I don't know how successful the platform is. If the average revenue of the sites over a 10-year period is $60,000, that really doesn't sound like Fort Knox to me.
Well, not for the clients, I guess.
Yeah.
It is like a WordPress version of e-commerce, or it's a very bottom end quick way in. So there's probably a lot of the users are very small scale hobbyist type. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like that.
Yeah. So it's based on WordPress.
It's pretty much like that. BigCommerce has got platforms for WordPress. WordPress is one of their WordPress users is one of their major clients, and the other is Drupal. And then they've also got recently migrations from different platforms, Magento and other stores.
Yeah, the Magento was in that market.
Yeah, but majorly they have the market for WordPress. And they're performing good, small scale business and the hobbyist type, as Tony said, pretty much the same. But they also have e-commerce specifically for enterprise.
Yeah, their competitions, things like Shopify, Evolution, that sort of stuff. So there's a few big players in the market. Back on, what was the subject? Oh yeah, social and SEO.
Social media versus SEO, which is a better performing.
I agree. It's very hard to measure social and to realize with the social, it could be you get a fan, you get a liker, and it could be months later if you actually buy, and it's quite hard to track that connection. It is possible, but you're probably only going to get a small percentage that were socially influenced before buying. So I agree with Jim that it's hard to know the true value. On the other side, I think some companies seem to do what they know. So all they'll do is social, but I think you have to do both. The social to work, you want to make sure you also show up in the search engines. Because people, when they decide to buy, might go to Google or might lose you. Because you've got to keep the balance there. And just with social, fingers crossed they actually have value.
Guys, can you just check the comments on the chat down, please?
Jim's done a runner.
Yeah, he does that most of the time, doesn't he?
I'm still here. It's just that we've had a lot of people just walk in, so I just put a little note in the chat there. I have noise here at the moment. Can you cover for me?
Oh, yeah, I will.
Okay.
That wasn't me now.
So I guess carrying on the social SEO, there's also, I guess, a mix. Like you can SEO social, even though it's not search engines technically, but you can do things with your social to optimize it for search engines, and I guess you can socialize your SEO as well, like Google Plus showing up in search results. So I guess the two concepts are mixing a bit. Again, like I say, I don't think you should treat them, just do one or the other. You should think about the whole thing as a package.
Combine is the best.
What was that?
Combining both the components is best. I mean, it gives you better results, but having both of them is pretty important. I personally believe that. I mean, like SEO alone can give you results in social search engines basically, or pretty much uh, social. I mean, that's pretty much for search engines. But when it comes to social media, it gives you more of a user engagement kind of thing. It helps, building up a brand, but also making sales if you're doing a kind of direct marketing on social media platforms. But then it's pretty much important. If I go on Google and search for something specific, it's not going to give me results which are on social media. It's going to give me results which are on SEO based. Typically, it's not going to give me social media results. So it's fine to use social media to have a user engagement there, have a sales platform there, but it's pretty important to have SEO. I mean, like you can have a great social media campaign, and if you don't have SEO, you're dead. There's there's no way to be actually in listings. What do you say? I mean, you guys are the pro. You can give much better comment on this.
Actually, well, another thing I would say is SEO tends to be more about finding new users, new customers, whereas social is about retaining and entertaining existing ones. Or that's what I feel it's like. So, and reminding people. So Facebook's a good place to keep going. Remember you bought from us. Remember you bought from us. But it's not so good at if someone's searching for a product, they are not likely to find your Facebook page. They're likely to find you via SEO.
Yeah, pretty much. Social media just gives you, if you have an existing fan, he's a fan of yours, there's a new product launch, he goes like it or makes a comment, his friend circles, gets to view that. But it's pretty much like that. Social media cannot overtake, or SEO cannot overtake both they can vice versa cannot overtake. They have to be in existence parallel to each other. I mean,
yeah, they're different angles, so therefore you find customers in a different way. So you should do both.
yeah, about making much more sales on each platform, it really depends how good it is. I mean, like if you're selling something on social media and on you're doing SEO for the same, it's both way handy. But you cannot actually say social media is giving you much more results than SEO, because social media depends on the platform that you're delivering to the kind of audiences that you have. Basically, it's reselling to your actual customers and getting them to share it or like it and share with their network to make sales out of it.
And
But
that
I
can
never go
suit
on Facebook to
you
buy
well.
something.
Yeah.
Actually, I never go on Facebook to buy something. I Google it and check out variations of platforms that are giving me that particular product and find the reviews and then buy it. And I don't go on Facebook or any other platform to actually go and buy. Even though if I have certain platform fixed that I'm going to buy from Flipkart or this card or whatever, but I generally have a tendency to Google it. I don't care if I'm a fan of Flipkart for buying services or quick services or any other platform, but then I simply Google it. Who has time to go to Flipkart and then look for your product? It's better to Google it.
Um, how often do you see in your Facebook timeline a business you're not personally interested? How often does a business get some branding put in front of you? And it's
No,
pretty rare nowadays outside adverts.
it's pretty rare. I mean, until I don't actually do an SEO, until I don't do a hunting or a search for it, my ads aren't gonna change. If I'm searching for, let's say on Facebook, if I'm searching for an educational training program and I just hit it, right? I mean, I put that in search. Till that very point, I'm not gonna see a single ad. Maybe after that, when the crawler actually sees my search results or my search string, they might start showing up me those ads, but that ad might not be appropriate that I'm exactly looking for. I still have to go to a search engine to look what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty much important to have both of them. Social media is strictly for presence and continued sales or continued, kind of exchanging services or telling buyers that, oh yeah, we are on with this. But SEO is one thing actually which drives you sales.
Yeah.
For over 70% of user, I mean, like you go to buy, I go to buy. We don't go on a specific platform to buy. We go on search engines to look which platform is delivering what we want to buy. I don't think both have any competitions. That they are strictly um, for their own cause and pros, right?
Yeah, I guess SEO can feed social, whereas not so much the other way. For example, if you do appear in search results, they get to your website and you've got your Facebook and Twitter buttons on there. And another thing that classes SEO is doing a special markup, so you can make sure that if you post on Facebook, you can choose the image, the title, and the description, which I'd classify that as SEO, even though it's actually going on to the social channels. So I think SEO can help social because it's where people come in from.
But that's not vice versa. Social media cannot help any trends on SEO, but SEO can trends for social media. They can give you much more likes and users, but social media cannot do the reverse trend. It cannot get you up on search engines. It won't get you up on search engines.
Not really.
Not
Apart
much.
from Google personalization, and again, that's still a very narrow. You're only influencing people that you're already connected with. Yeah, it's a bit of a one-way thing. So I guess SEO is something you should do, and social's a bonus.
Masataki is lost. He's a Google guy. He's supposed to speak. We're talking SEO.
He might have fallen asleep again.
No, he's
Nope.
just unmuted. He's going to talk as soon as you shut up.
I'm not an SEO person. We know a bit about Google Plus. That's about it.
Yeah. I don't differentiate Google and Google Plus, YouTube. It's all the same.
I think what I think is important is what Tony mentioned, that Google Plus landscape is integrated in personalized search for Google. So the question to me, in my mind, is how much of the organic search will the personalized search cannibalize into? You know, Google already has a very big share of search. The question in my mind is how much of that, what proportion of that search will be personalized, i.e. people signed into their Google accounts to which there is a Google Plus entity, Google Plus profile, through which the person has interacted with other Google Plus entities and external sites through plus ones or sharing a web page and so on and so forth. The signals I think are pretty weak at the moment. So even if you do enable personalized search, certain things will pop up at the higher position, but not necessarily taken over by results that have been influenced through your social connections. But I think in the medium term, I do think that it's going to be a very substantial proportion of search. Even let's say it's 5% of search is going to be personalized and influenced by actions on the Google Plus landscape. 5% of search would be huge. And I think for that reason alone, I think that it does make sense for many people to engage on Google Plus and make connections on Google Plus, because even though there's no direct influence, I think, on sort of non-personalized search, I think what you do on Google Plus landscape will have a measure, maybe not a huge amount, but a measure of influence on what people see in personalized results. So that's, I think, one area where the two do meet, the social media side of things and SEO side of things. So if you have a website, then you want to make sure that that's shareable, not just on Google Plus, but on other platforms as well. But for this argument, primarily on Google Plus. And you may want to encourage people to do so, because I think the sharing, resharing, plus oneing, those kind of things will be seen as endorsement or an expression of positive sentiment towards that external web page. Does it make sense, or am I just, do anyone have a coffee?
No, we just thought to shut up.
Yeah. I've talked too much.
That's running out of steam, so.
I don't like. It's. I think Google will deliberately be keeping the personalization to a limited amount, and the key thing is you have to be active on Google Plus for it to actually make an effect, which I guess is their current limitation. Most people, even if they've got accounts, haven't actually circled anybody. So there's no influence that would happen there.
Yeah, I think that's the issue, in that is there enough body of people who are using Google Plus sufficiently frequently, I suppose, for Google to make a very good assessment of what social connections are, things like that. Yeah, so that's an issue. But let's say, that's being terribly optimistic, that Google Plus will gain more active users. There will be more people using it, and more people using it more frequently over the next few years, in that span of things. Then I think in a few years' time, it might become a substantial and quite significant influence in what happens, because I think search in general has become much more individualized. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's personalized, but it's influenced by your location. In the future, it may be influenced by your device, what you're using, and potential actions that you may want to take based on a particular device, for example. So it's so search results are going to be more complex, I think, anyway, with or without personalization. But with personalization, it's becoming even more complex, even more tailored to that individual query by that individual person.
So another one is search history has an effect, doesn't it?
Yeah. Again, that can work in both ways, doesn't it? It can work as a personalized thing. So if you're signed into Google and you allow the history function, then obviously that's going to influence your future searches. And I think there's more I may be wrong, because I often am. There may be sort of generic, pseudonymous historical data attached to the browser. So they don't know who's searching it, but they do know that browser has been used to search this and that previously.
Mm.
You should advise people not to let anybody else search on your PC or computer.
Yeah, but that's sort of part of the problem in terms of serving ads for Google, hasn't it? Because if we know that Google serves ads partly on your interests, so that's why you sometimes see ads following you through different sites, and you see ads that are not relevant to the site's content, but it may be relevant in a sense that you may have been looking at something on that topic previously. And that's a problem because they don't quite know if it's the same person or not. They know that they're using this user is using the same browser, but they don't know whether it's just three different users using the same browser. So
would a Google Plus profile give them a finer grain on that, or do you think they don't have that information in the advertising world?
Well, I think that's one thing that I'm not 100% sure, but I'm sure that they're going to use the Google Plus information, because that's a treasure trove of information. Because in many cases, people declare their gender, age, educational background, professional background. All these things are hugely valuable demographic information. And if you look at plus ones and resharing, whenever you sign into that, Google can retrieve that and say, oh, this and plus ones might be a very good profile of you as a potential target for advertisers. So if you surf and like particular websites or particular types of websites, then they might be thinking, okay, this person's interested in that thing. So I, as an advertiser, would want to target this person more, and perhaps I might bid more to target at this person. And the great thing is that they know that it's you because you signed into your account, right?
Mm.
It's not a browser that happened to browse these sites, and as such, the user of this browser might be the kind of person I'm interested in as an advertiser. Instead of targeting the browser, which may be used by more than one person, with signed in status, with Google Plus linked, you know exactly whom you're targeting. Or at least you know that it's a consistent person. And again, we've discussed this before, but I don't think Google needs to know your name. That's why the real name's dropped. They want
Yeah,
to know
that
you. It's the consistent identity. You're the same person that has been around doing this and that.
and I just saw an article on the next version of Chrome, and currently on Google Chrome you can have multiple users, but it's not so obvious. And the next version, it looks like they're going to make it a lot easier for people to create multiple users in your one browser. So, which would go with that fashion of if someone else starts browsing, they'll switch to being themselves, and therefore Google can track you a lot better. And each user is linked to a Google account, so they're linking it all up that way. So that all makes sense on even more tracking data.
Yeah, they love to take our privacy away. They suck on that. It's good. It's bad.
That was the last question as well, wasn't it? Yeah.
Masataki, that's definitely me in that case.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I think the thing that always the point I always come back to is that in the end, Google makes money by serving ads. So best understand what is happening is to see what's making, what is going to make sense from ad serving perspective. Google's going to make money from different areas, but for the foreseeable future, Google is going to make money primarily from serving ads, and I don't think that's going to change.
No.
That's definitely not going to change, but they're going to enhance it. Don't you agree? I mean, they're never going to go backward. They're always going to go forward and add more details into it.
Yeah, so that's why I have that somewhat weird and peculiar views, skewed views on Google Plus and how it relates to ad serving, and that's how I tend to see it. You can call me a cynic, but I do think it's about creating a good ad profile.
And the more they can get on Google Plus, the better that profile is. The higher percentage, and like at the moment in Google Analytics, you can, as long as you've got your right privacy, you can also access some of that data that Google's picking up, like gender, demographics. So, and Google themselves have got a lot more of it.
Yeah, and they don't have to share it with anyone else. I mean, that's the problem with relying on another party. So Google doesn't have access to Facebook data, for example. But if Google has its own walled garden data, which it doesn't have to share with anyone else, it's great
Yeah.
advantage.
Honestly, when did Google actually share their information with anyone else? Have they ever? They don't, I guess. Do they?
They give bits out like in Google Analytics, but They keep it
Yeah,
so
but then
that
you still need to be connected to Google to
yeah.
access it.
What was that?
But then you still need Google to access it. You just don't go anywhere else and access it.
Yeah, and you only get a little snippet of what's there, your own personal little bit.
I feel like I'm searching on Google. Jim, are you back?
I am back, yes.
We're still,
I've just
we're still
been
discussing
talking
social
to,
media and SEO.
I've just been talking to Wang Feng from Osdom. That's the IP-based webcam. Have you seen them?
Oh,
Hello?
that
Yeah.
was the one that Dan was discussing in the link building hangout, is it?
That's the one, yes, yes, yes. Actually, he brought up something interesting that you guys can perhaps explain to me, because I can't figure it out. He just gave me this link, and I'll put this link in the chat. It's for Osdom's Facebook page. So I clicked on the link, but I don't have a Facebook account, so I was hit by a challenge, like a login page. But I've seen business pages before that don't require a login. What's the difference?
I know Twitter seems to kind of push you into logging in as well.
Well, I'm a recovering Facebook user. I've been clean for I think 15 months now, and I have no wish to go back.
It's a group. It's not a page.
Yeah, it's a
Right.
group. It's a group. If you are, logged in from your business account, that means if you don't have a Facebook profile, you cannot go to this page, this group. You would have to have a profile for that.
So pages are public. Profiles you can choose how much is public, I guess. The groups are private. Jim, you're missing out a lot. There's a dog on some weird machine here.
What's going on?
On the page, on the group,
Am
there's a
I?
cool dog.
Right.
Come
Just
back
hang on.
to Facebook.
I'm just
Join
doing the wing thing.
Facebook. I know you want to.
Jim, was there something specific about this page, or
Oh
just the
yes.
fact
Well,
you couldn't see?
it's just that Wang Feng was talking about his page and how so far he had. Let me just see what he said. I think he's got 499 likes on it. Is that right?
Well, if it's a group, it's members. I don't think you'd like a group.
No, he's talking about a post that has been made by Boo David. Is that what you're talking about, Jim?
Well, I was wondering why I had to log in because the business page is.
You cannot log in. You cannot log in and check Google Groups. I don't think so. You can, because I tried to log in into this group on my business pages and I cannot. I would have to actually log in from my profile and then go ahead. But which are you? What exactly are we talking here? Because this is a group, you cannot like a group, you can join a group, and then there is a post that you're talking about 499 likes.
Do you think I should ask Wang Fen to join us?
Yeah, try that. So this group has 6,000 members, and yeah, there's a post with 499 likes, and it looks like you don't have to be a member to like it, but obviously as a member you're more likely to see it.
Yeah. Yeah, because you share to the group, right? You post it to a group. Sorry, I think that's the
Yeah.
terminology.
I've
You
asked
just
him.
can't comment on the group. This is not an open group. You have to join the group to make a comment. You can, however, like, share.
Are you joining Facebook again, Jim?
I'm not joining Facebook. No, I don't have an account.
He knows
I
he
wear it
wants.
as a badge of honour. I would like to learn how to Facebook though, because it is a really strong influencer of people. A lot of our relatives and like the people I know are on Facebook, and they swear by it. I'd rather eat broken glass.
Well, and talk to your relatives. His group's doing well, but I presume he's at a disadvantage that it's not a page. I guess the dynamics are very different. A group, I think people can post on, so it's more of a free-for-all. He's not sure what he's doing, yeah.
People can share on a page, right?
You can share on a page, but I think if you post on a page, it's kind of demoted to a little corner.
Yeah.
Only the owner can. Whereas in the group is your posts are right in the stream.
It's just dawned on
Yeah,
me, we have three Facebook experts in our group here.
Many pages disable that function because of spam.
Anyway, I've asked Wang Feng to join us. He's actually in Shenzhen in China. I'm not sure if he definitely doesn't have a camera. I'm not sure if he even has a mic, but he could join us and type in the chat, and as long as he has speakers. So just hopefully he'll join us in a moment. I hope you guys will be able to help him out because he's sending me an Ostdom.
It looks like he's doing well. 6,000 members is good, and he's getting a lot of interaction.
That's a post on a page. So for sure it can. And on that post is on the page in the left corner.
Oh, the link straight to the post itself. Yes, if someone posts on your page, they're not in the mainstream.
No, indeed.
People can still interact with it, which is different to a group where you'd actually get a full-size picture and things. And
I never joined a
yeah.
group. So. Let's see. Sports, music, movies.
Wang Feng can't find a headset, so unfortunately, that's not going to happen. Well, it looks like we've covered it for yet another week, guys, have we?
Kieran commented about that. Yeah, pages are being gamed more, so I think that's why pages have downgraded other people's comments on them. It's just you just end up being spammed.
Okay. Well, look, if you've been watching us, thank you very much. Your interest in what we do makes what we do worthwhile, and for that we thank you most sincerely. We'll be back at the same time next week to do it all again. But until then, thank you very much. Oh, we're going into Green Room now. I'll put a link to this hangout in the social media community on Google+, and we'll be chatting once the public broadcast stops, but you're more than welcome to join us. Thanks very much.